Everyone ready to rock and roll? Welcome to Psychology of Listing, the updated version for COVID. Little tiny things that we need to be thinking differently about in terms of real estate. I would suggest to you, whether you are an individual agent or a team, every one of you needs a system. And some people need to mute, I think. We've got some muting issues here. Whether you're an individual or a team, you need a system. And what I'm going to bring to you today is a listing system, top to bottom, something that will help you scale someday so that everything, as great as you are as an individual agent, if you ever wanted to bring anyone on, this would allow you to bring them on knowing that they were totally aware of how to go forward and proceed. So with that, we're going to go to our first slide. All right, my friend. What did you do? Aha, thank you. All right, my friend Grace is here just to back us up. Wilt Chamberlain, this is a great story. 1962, he's playing for Philadelphia, and he has what still stands as the single best scoring game in the history of the NBA. He scores 100 points. But what makes that night particularly phenomenal is that that was the one night after shooting at a basic 40% free throw rate that he hit 28 out of 32 free throws. Absolutely unheard of in NBA history. It still stands as a record. He shot 87% that night. Game of his life. And the way he did it was with the granny shot. He was shooting underhanded. And they say that if Wilt Chamberlain had shot underhanded his whole life, his whole career, they may never have lost a game. But after that night, he gave it up. He wouldn't do it anymore. He said, I'm not interested. I feel like a sissy. I feel like a girl. It's a wimpy way of doing it. This is in his autobiography. I know I'm doing the wrong thing, but I can't do it. I can't make myself do it. Which begs the question, why would anybody ever not do something that they know was going to make them more successful? What psychologically is going on in people's mind, or in Wilt's mind in particular? The curious case of Wilt Chamberlain's free throws. Why would he not shoot underhanded? Malcolm Gladwell did an amazing podcast of his, Revisionist History, if anyone wants to listen to this in depth. Malcolm Gladwell couldn't believe it. He's going, is this universal? Is this a thing in human nature that we won't do what we know is great? So he just wandered down to the Columbia, he's in New York, Columbia women's basketball team. And he went to their practice and said, listen, would you guys just humor me? Everyone, let's do a whole bunch of free throws. And he scored them. How many did they get out of 10? And he said, I know you haven't tried it. You haven't practiced this shot. Would you all do the underhand shot? And they did. And at their first attempt, without any practice, they had a higher scoring percentage. And he said, well, ladies, we've just figured out a way for you to make more points in a game. And the women said, oh, no, we're not doing that. They had the exact same reaction as Wilt. And the reason I bring this story up is that we know there are better ways. There's another famous basketball player. He still holds the highest record in free throw shooting. His name is Rick Barry. He shot over 90% for his career. That is a phenomenal amount of underthrows. And he's the one that does the underhand shot. Today in the NBA, there's one guy from, some other country, and Rick Barry's son that shoots underhanded. And he looked at it and said, this makes more sense. We're not used to holding the ball over our head. We're used to having it here. And when it hits the rim, it's a softer shot. If it's a softer shot, then it has a better chance of falling in if it wasn't really spot on. I'm going to suggest that the things I'm telling you today in the Psychology of Listing are just exactly like Wilt Chamberlain. Nobody else in the industry is doing them. So it feels weird. No one else is doing it. Why would I do it? And I'm going to press you to please, please consider doing it, to thinking about doing business a little bit differently. And Ramsey, I see you're here. If you can unmute yourself, I'm going to ask you to kind of pipe in here.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. What would you like me to discuss, Linda? Just in general, do you want me to just start talking like always?
No, I think you were going to talk about when you've used these systems and integrated some of the things we're going to talk about today, just your success with it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I would say in general, especially for me, and I'm a slightly less organized person than I wish I was, and that's just the reality of what I am. But I have found that when you follow, I would say not the guidelines, but you follow the processes that you've created. And I know I was on Linda's, by the way, I was on Linda's team since I was a sophomore in college as an intern. And I was, on her team for a very long time before I went off on my own. And I adopted her systems wholeheartedly. And what they have created is a much more consistent business for myself and a much more successful business. And it's funny, as soon as I start to, and it's the same thing that happens when we start to get busy. As soon as you start to feel super confident and feel like everything's going well, you immediately start dropping off all of the things that you're actually supposed to be doing. Same thing as soon as you start getting really busy, the first that you stop doing everything that made you busy. And that's why we get so many peaks and valleys. So I'm just certainly piping up from the beginning, just saying that the consistency here is key with these systems. And that's what I have found has been most successful for me.
Thank you, Rams. I really do appreciate it. So I'm going to go to the PowerPoint now. Let's see. What are the pain points in a real estate transaction? Anyone, when you were dealing with a seller, what are the things that drive you crazy? What consistently do sellers do to make this hard? And this would be the participation portion of the afternoon. What are those things?
Well, they always forget, this is Ramsey again, they always forget what we said the first time. So if we go on at a price and we said it was too high, they're certainly not going to remember that by the time it's time for a reduction.
Right. What else? Yep. They don't want to price it right. What else do sellers do? Kim and Carrie, are you going to say something?
Well, I think they're completely unreasonable, and they've had it their way for so long that I think they just feel like they're going to get 1,000 offers and every single term their way right now, and so it's challenging to bring them back to reality sometimes.
You're absolutely right. They feel like they're in the cat seat. They can demand terms, right? And I think, let me just to move these things along. Sometimes they don't want to stage. Sometimes they don't want to paint. Oftentimes they don't want to pay you. They think it's selling so fast. Why should we give you X%? Somebody down the street's going to do it way cheaper. And isn't it all the same? They don't understand that. And when you understand truly what the pain points are, now you have a chance to really reach them, right? But you don't tell them. So let's move along here. Who here loves to be told what to do? Just asking, right? You all woke up this morning going, you know what? It would be really great. Just tell me what to do. The thing is, we walk into every listing appointment and we march in telling them what to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And it is overwhelming if you're a seller. They might want that information, but we cannot be shouting at them. And I don't mean this way. I'm just saying, this is it. This is the way I do it. I know how it's done. You have to bring them along in the process. You have to get them to want to do it. And how do you do that? Well, next thing, I want to talk about the standard listing appointment. I'm convinced everyone is just, and you've heard me say it a million times, a self-promotional jerk. We walk in with all of our marketing. We talk about how great we are. We talk about how awesome our company is. We talk about our market share. We talk about all these stats as if that's how people are going to make a decision. Let's remember all day long, you can give them all a million reasons why they should list with you. But if they don't like you, if they don't trust you, if they don't feel like you're clever and you've got something someone else doesn't have and you're going to be the best person for them to work with, it doesn't matter how good you are. It just doesn't matter. And walking in with your PowerPoints and your collateral, those things are nice. Those justify the decision, but it's not how people are going to make those decisions. So here we have the thing. Sellers are desperate for help. What do they need to do? And we need to convey that, what they need to do, without telling them what to do. So you have to make yourself attractive to homeowners. That's what this entire presentation is about. How can you be the most attractive agent so that they want to hire you? By the way, everything we do here isn't so you get the listing. That's one of the goals. But who wants a listing that's not priced right? Who wants a listing with sellers who aren't going to be reasonable? Who wants a listing with people who, as Kerry said, they just think they can call the shots? We maybe need to humble them a little bit and let them know what the realities are or how they can really score. Yeah, lots of people can sell your house, but can they sell it for as much money with the best terms? Do they have the strategies? How are we going to demonstrate all that? So let's see. There is a new paradigm ahead. This is where it's really important to understand this is a shift. We are shifting the way we do business. We're not going to be doing business like everybody else has been doing it for years. And I love this slide. Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change. This means the next time you go on an appointment, you have to think about doing something fundamentally different than you've done before. Feels funny. I'm not really sure I can do that. Well, I can just tell you, this is the system I've used for a long time. This is the system that brought me to 90 listings a year. This is the system that allowed me for years to tamp down on a lot of the problems and be much more effective and efficient because I spent the time up front with the sellers, preparing them, getting them mentally ready to accept all the ideas and do what they need to do. And then when problems came up, things were normalized, we'd pre-resolve them. That's what I'm going to suggest. Ramsey hates when I use this slide, but everyone knows it's my absolute favorite slide in real estate, because the first time I saw it, I absolutely knew that that's exactly what I saw happening in real estate. There wasn't a day that went by when I didn't have one of my agents hanging upside down from the chairlift with their pants around their ankles, right? And how many things have to go wrong to find yourself like that? And yet, all of those title problems, all of those, the expectation problems, I am a firm believer that you can, I'm just going to focus on this, you can completely eliminate so many problems in real estate if you follow systems with your seller, and you can't skip any steps, as my friend Ramsey said before. All right, when we all got into real estate, we knew it was a really glamorous business. We felt like Vanna White, right? It's also going to be so much fun. And these are the kind of places that we're going to be selling all of these great fancy pants penthouses. This is a friend of mine's house that was sold a couple of years ago. And this is how I'm going to enjoy real estate. When in fact, we know people are, batshit crazy sometimes. There isn't any one of us that haven't experienced absolutely crazy sellers. And these are things we're up against every day. People who think it is a really good idea to vinyl upholstery their cabinets, all right? This is what the kind of things that we see and have to deal with every day. Or perhaps it's the seller that orders an awning for their garage that is undersized and monogrammed and then doesn't even center it over the garage. Or perhaps, and this is right off of Aldo's page, Aldo gives us such great fodder. He finds these great things. He said, caption this home for sale. And Lynette from Leading Edge gave the best answer. It was, partially vinyl sided exterior allows you to enjoy sweet melodies on warm, breezy nights. I mean, people are doing these crazy things to their houses. How about that one? I love this. The door doesn't fit. I don't buy a door to fit. I don't increase the hole. No, I cut the top of the door off. Or this is a beautiful shower, but as one of the respondents said to Aldo, do all the knobs work, or do you guess where the water will come from when you turn them on, right? Just kind of crazy things. That was, I can't even begin to explain it. That is not self-explanatory. I loved this one, that industrial look, using a hanger to keep the oven door closed. I really like this. Aldo's caption, new from Mattel, pink potty Barbie. You know, what was someone thinking here? But it is beautifully displayed just for the MLS photos. Love the ruffles, all of those things, right? And then I've kept this one in the catalog for a long time because I envision being on a listing appointment and some seller saying to me, look, I individually cut all this wood around these tiles. You know, remember how precious this is to him, how he spent an entire weekend doing this. And he just needed a good threshold and didn't know that that was the proper protocol. And this is what we deal with because every seller, I mean, buyer is going to be thinking, what were they thinking? That's crazy. That looks so ugly. And we know we have to deal with these things.
And Linda, that piece right there, you know that he wants more for it. It's
And
the more custom, the more that they wanted it. And that's important to remember, where it's, you know, it's going to be the hardest thing because you don't even get to attack it. And you have to try to figure out how to bake it into the value when you have that or something much larger. It's always, I think that's the most difficult when you see custom stuff.
Custom, unless they really have a design eye that is completely on trend, is, you know, it's another word for tough to sell. Always, all of these things. So I like to talk about Adam Hergenrother. I interviewed him years ago. Here was a 29-year-old kid that had 122 active listings, most that he had never seen. I bring him up and I like to reference this because Adam looked at the listing process fundamentally differently, right? I'm not doing it like everybody else. I live in Vermont. Every time I get in my car, it's an hour out and an hour back. I had 3 listing appointments one day, and he said, and when I got there, they were trying to tell me that the quality nail that they used on the deck was the highest quality. So obviously they're upselling me, as my friend Ramsey just said, they're upselling me and they think their house is worth more money. Here's the problem. I have to stop going to their house. If I stop going to their house, then they're not going to upsell me. I'm going to bring them into my office and tell them and do my entire appointment. By the way, that's like bringing them on Zoom now. And they can show you their house on Zoom. Those are things you need to think about doing totally differently. And this is what I want to challenge you. You know, Adam always went knowing what the house is worth. And a lot of you will say, well, how could you possibly know what the house is worth if you haven't seen it yet? If you ask the right questions on the phone, if you get a good catalog of exactly what's happening, you know what the house is worth. There isn't any of you who hasn't come back to the office, seen a colleague, said, I was up in this neighborhood, right? I had a 3-bedroom, 2 full bath, garage, you know, and we both know what kind of street it's on and what the location is. This is the style of the house. And let me explain, the kitchen is, you know, I could say it 2 ways. State of the art. It's gorgeous. You know, it's all those white quartz countertops. It's painted all these stainless appliances. They've got the wine fridge. They've got the fancy dishwasher, pull-out drawer dishwasher. They've got all of these things. Or I could say it's got oak cabinets, it's pink countertops, it's got brass hardware. You know, we can see different kitchens, right? It's all wallpapered, or it's all painted in beautiful fanfare, you know, whatever it might be, which is a light blue gray. Or you could be saying, the bathrooms, you know, like it still has a pull chain toilet, and no, it's not really classic Victorian. It barely works and it's smelly and moldy in there. Or they just did the bathroom over. It looks like a showroom over at Ferguson's. You know, when I tell you exactly everything you need to know about the house, you know what that house is worth. We have to get over the fact that they think we need to see it. We can price it without going in it when we have the facts. And we'll show you how to get all of that information that you need now. So Adam washes up pretty good, but one thing Adam does is he always sent a video. After someone called him to ask him to come out for an opinion value or a price on his house, he sent a video saying, thanks for calling me. This is what's going to happen next. You know, and that's really key. He was out in front of them, differentiating himself immediately by not meeting them at their house and by sending a video. He did everything a little bit differently. If you want to write anything down, Adam wrote, I like this, the 9 objections every listing presentation should cover, right? So here they are. Simple. Price. You need to discuss how you are determining price, what it means, what's the strategy, what's happening in the market. You need condition, how condition affects price. Your listing presentation should cover that. It should cover commission. As Ramsey always said, don't make them ask. You're on your heels if they're asking you what your commission is. Be able to tell them right up front, and then sit quietly as they absorb it. But don't talk about commission till the end. You don't tell them right up front because you're not worth it yet. But if you go through the process we're recommending, you'll be worth it. All right. Print media advertising. That we don't do print media. And that our advertising now is on Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram. And now we might be using TikTok if we've got a little hip condo for the younger set. Online marketing. Where is your presence? How are you selling their house? What are all the websites that you'll be using? How can you guarantee them full exposure? Showing feedback and urgency. Everyone should be using showing time. That's a great tool, but creating urgency is what moves the market. How are you creating urgency? How are you guaranteeing that everyone's gonna know you have an offer? Talk to them about that. Don't make assumptions that they understand that you're working at the highest level, because we all know that not everyone is calling everybody back to see if they have an offer, because they have their own offer and they don't want any more offers to come in. Communication and market updates. Here is my communication rhythm. You're going to hear from me every Monday morning after the weekend so we can debrief what happened. I'm not sure weekends matter as much anymore, but I think that weekends are starting to come back. On Wednesday, we're going to make a plan for the weekend and see what new properties we're competing against, what went under agreement. And on Friday, again, we're going to evaluate. I'm going to talk to you 3 times a week, or whatever your communication is. But we don't communicate enough. And it's silence that makes people crazy with you. You can have listing if it's one of those long haul listings for 18 months. If you're in high communication, they're not going to hire someone else. The minute they don't hear from you, they don't trust you anymore. All right, photos and staging. By the way, you need to talk to them up front, right there. Stop driving you and the marketing team absolutely nuts because you want to get it in the computer on Wednesday and you're taking photos on Tuesday. That's cuckoo, right? You need to set deadlines. I want to let you know, this is how we work. And that we need the photos at least the Friday before we launch on Wednesday. If you don't make the photos by Friday, we have to push it off a week. Take control of your listings. Otherwise, you don't get the full extent of our marketing. We can't get the postcards out. We can't get all the social media advertising. Everything depends on photos. So make sure you are totally in charge of how you're taking photos. Team structure and benefit. Even if you aren't a team, if you're part of Leading Edge, you have a marketing department. You have coaching and all kinds of education. You have got unbelievable technology. You have everything you need, but talk about it like a team. Teams are winning now. If you're an individual broker, you are a team. You have a home inspector, you have an attorney. You've got everybody. You've got resources for everything. You have painters, you have stagers, you've got a big team. Talk about your team. All right. When you look at this, we all know what's going on here, right? Somebody is at a therapist appointment. And there isn't one of you who hasn't said to someone you know and love at some time, God, I feel like a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm their therapist. They have to talk to me all the time, right? We all know that's going on. And there's a reason for that. You are their sounding board, right? They need you. They're relying on your guidance and counsel. But we need to act more like therapists from the minute of first contact. From the very first phone call, we need to change and not be like everyone else. Now, one of the things I was listening, I think it was to Radio Lab, and it was about, they called it motivational interviewing, right? And what we're going to conduct on the phone is a motivational interview. We are going to look at this process as helping them make a decision. What a therapist is doing is asking questions, because That patient doesn't want to be told what to do. Matter of fact, if you tell someone to do, they back off, they push back, right? They're not going to do what you say. So she can't tell anybody what to do. What this therapist wants to achieve is to get the patient, and our seller in this case is our patient, get the patient to come to the right conclusions, to deduct and reason forward, to solve his problems. And by the way, we said in the beginning, every seller has a problem. They need to sell their house. They don't know how to get the most money. They need you. We know so much sometimes we don't even understand how gifted these seasoned agents, the things you understand, the problems you head off. And we need to understand they haven't done this before, or even if they did it a long time ago, they didn't do it with someone at your caliber, not at our caliber. All right. So if you were going to go to the doctor, do you want to see the guy from Harvard? Do you want someone older and experienced? Are you looking for someone to sit and talk to you? Which doctor do you want? Right? Think about it. Think about who you are on your listing appointments. I love to show this video. Just watch. There's no audio because I was too cheap to buy it. This is still protected by Shutterfly, but here you go. Watch this doctor interact. This is exactly what you need to look like on your appointments. All right. So what was so special here? First of all, certainly that contact. We're not going to be touching anybody on any of our appointments anytime soon. But there was a day when an appropriate touch was warm and engendered wonderful, good feelings. That aside, the brilliance of this is that she's nodding, she's listening, she's writing things down. That's how you win. When people are speaking and you are writing notes, like right now, I don't really know Laurie Crane, but I can tell you, I already love Laurie Crane. Laurie Crane is taking copious notes throughout this entire thing. Laurie, thank you very much. But ready? I like her. I automatically do. She's paying attention. I feel valued. Laurie is honoring me. That's exactly how the clients feel. When you walk in like a know-it-all and you think you're going to remember everything, they're wondering, they're going to remember that? I just told them something really important, but she didn't write it down. Is that going to make it into the listing sheet? Does she understand how important I want the buyers to know that? And if you haven't taken the time to write it down, that in the engagement you get on taking notes, not to mention the fact that because you've done so many CMAs this week that you can't remember for the life of you which bathroom was what or whatever they said. When you have those notes in your file, you are in much better shape when you go back to do the opinion of value. All right. So here are your strategies for building real estate value. First of all, we all know, and this cannot be underestimated, that people walk in lockstep, right? Everybody does the same thing all the time. We don't do it on purpose. We all jump on the trends. You know, when the beginning of COVID, everyone was watching Tiger King. You know, there's always this new thing that is happening all the time. Well, color is exactly the same way. Now, it hasn't changed since the last 5 times I've done this, but this was a dramatic shift in around 2014, 15. I remember someone saying to me, Linda, you don't think things are going to go white? I said, I do think so because we've had such bold colors for so long. So remember that. And you can tell by cars. Here's trends, right? The 2 most popular color cars are silver or gray and white. And everything we're doing now is silver and white or gray and white. Nothing has changed. Did anyone get that big Restoration Hardware catalog that just came out? It's all the same, it's white and gray. And, you know, I look at the catalogs, look online, look at Pinterest. Someday it's gonna shift. It just hasn't happened yet. So we know definitively that white kitchens are gonna sell, right? This is what people want. I know the brass is coming back. Those of us who lived through the 80s and early 90s can't do brass, but young folks love it. This is Gwyneth Paltrow's kitchen. And what I like to point out is the reclaimed wood. Restoration Hardware was full of reclaimed wood tables, desks. That seems to be a really big thing. Again, white kitchens. I would lose curtains. I don't think any kind of curtains or decorative shades is really as hip and sexy. I like to point this out because a lot of us tell people to tile a backsplash. And you can see on this one that the tile here is more done in a French way with a darker grout. Just beware that often people pick out tile, you tell them, but you don't tell them about the grout. And that's a white grout background. It has a very different look and feel. So just beware when you're making recommendations for people to cover a backsplash. Bedrooms are white, neutral colors in the back, you know, little gray accents. Same thing for bathrooms. And furniture. Is your stager using all this white furniture? Nothing has changed. White and gray, that's the thing. Some people like to write this down. What are the colors? These are the colors that we're recommending, right? Calm is a great neutral. It's so great that it can work with woodwork or white woodwork. Lily white and fanfare are really blues. You can hardly tell, but they're both a blue-gray. Classic gray, Oxford white if they want a nice white, and Buxton blue is color of the year for Benjamin Moore, just to let you know. Now, for those of you, and I don't mean to pick on the guys, but the guys are always calling, Linda, what are the colors? If you can only remember 2 colors, the 2 colors we're recommending are Cedar Key and Balboa Mist. Cedar Key is the warm. Again, if you have woodwork that's natural, use Cedar Key. If you're looking for a cool, Balboa Mist has that more gray undertone and is better with white woodwork. Just put that in your phone, put that in your Evernote. Those 2 will go absolutely everywhere. There isn't anything you can't paint today. And those colors I change probably every year, a little bit. Here's the listing systems to ensure success, right? And this is how it starts. Starts on the telephone when you get that call. Matter of fact, if they email you, do not succumb to emailing back. Say, I really want to be prepared. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. I would love to help you with your move. But I really need to talk because I need to be ready on our appointment. I want to come really prepared to give you the best strategies that are custom tailored to you. That's what this is all about. So I'm going to make everyone pinky swear right now. Ready? Here's the pinky swear. If I can get in the thing here, right? You're going to pinky swear. You're never, ever again going to do an opinion of value. You are never, ever again going to do a comparative market analysis while you're on the phone. You're going to say, and you're, oh, did I miss something? Okay. You're going to do a strategy for success. This is really key. We know what happens. People call you and they say, Julie, can you come down and give me an opinion of value? You say, yeah, I'd be glad to help you. Let's see. Leah, can you come and give me a price on my house? Sure, I'd be glad to give you a price on your house. You know, Howie says, I need a market analysis. Howie, for you, I'll do a market analysis. Every time someone calls you and asks you to give a price, do a market analysis, do an opinion of value, you have now fallen into the trap that every agent out there has fallen into. Ready? This is when you need to go into granny shot mode. Do not act like everybody else and tell them that you'll be glad to do all those things for them. Because when you do, what have you just set yourself up for is abject failure. You've set yourself up for failure because now you're competing on price. You've just told them, they've called you for a price, and you're thinking, I can do that, I'll give you a price. And who do they inevitably like, right? Linda goes out. I'm a really good agent. I know my absorption rates. I have my sales trends. I know exactly what's going on in the market, right? I'm competing against the inventory. I know what's active. I know what's just sold. I know exactly how to price it. And then Michelle Susie goes out. She's really a hardworking, good agent in our Andover office, but she's a little bit new. You know, she's not as sure of herself yet. So she's gonna just give a little scooch room. What she doesn't want to be is low. So she's a little bit higher than me. And then Stephanie Saunders comes along. Stephanie, you're so good natured. I know I can pick on you. Stephanie Saunders comes
Of
along.
course.
And you know what? She's like, you know what? I'm just going to give them a high price. They're going to love me. I'm absolutely charming. And you know what? It won't sell right away. But boy, if I give them a really high price, and I actually heard an agent who this was their entire philosophy, I price everything high. It gets rid of all the motivated buyers. It sits on the market a while. Then I get the calls and sell it myself. Can you imagine if your seller understood that that's what agents are doing? It's despicable that you would do it on purpose, right? Stephanie's not doing it on purpose. She's just kind of like, hey, you know, I want to make them happy. I don't want to disappoint them. Stephanie might be just doing it because she wants that money for them. My mother was like that. She just wanted the money for them. So whether it's a high price out of malice or a high price out of, you know, crazy aspirations and optimism that have no reality, either way, it's a bad thing for the seller. And we all know that. So the problem is the seller likes me and likes Michelle, but obviously Stephanie liked my house way better. No doubt in my mind, because Stephanie gave me the highest price. She obviously appreciates all the crazy things I've done. She loved how I tiled the floor with the wood. You know, she loved it. And she doesn't see a problem with it like Ramsey does. And that's what happens. That's how people are choosing their realtor. And if you go through and you agree to give them a price on the phone, like I said, you're dead in the water before you even started. So now, when they call you and they ask for a price or an opinion of value or a market analysis, you have to answer. And you have to be so trained to do the granny shot. You need to say, that's not why you called me. Which confuses them every time, because that is exactly why they called you. But if we're going to do this paradigm shift, it's really critical that we understand at this moment, we have to start shifting right now. No, you didn't call me for a price. As a matter of fact, I have nothing to do with the price. The market determines the price. You called me because you're looking for a strategy for a successful transaction. You're looking to get the highest price and the best terms in the shortest amount of time. That's why you called me. As a matter of fact, I can assure you, if you call lots of other people, they'll be glad to tell you a high price. But that's not why you called me. You're going to hire me because you understand I'm going to get you the most money. I'm going to go through that now. How do you do that? All right, you do it with questions. You go to battle with questions. I don't know why. Are you guys, I guess that you're getting half of that. You go to battle with questions. It is the therapist on the couch. And this is what I think people aren't willing to do. They won't take the granny shot. They're going to go and do what everybody else does all the time. And we've had to change the questions up a little bit. It's a different time. We're not proceeding in real estate the way we always have. I'm going to suggest that your very first question be something like, have you ever seen a 3D 360 real estate tour? That should be your first question on the phone. Have you ever seen one? Why no? Let me send over a pair of goggles. I'm going to send you some links. I want you to experience how we're now selling homes virtually. This is a fundamental difference right now. Is anyone else on the phone going to send them over virtual tour reality goggles, which you can get on the internet for $6? They might not be these fancy pants $50 ones. This is an amazing investment. You should have 15 of them in the back of your car to drop off. And you need to start doing those Matterport tours. Now, by the way, Susan Monette is new to our office. She might not have 3D Matterport tours already done. You just say, listen, I just joined the office. This is what we do. Let me show you some of my colleagues. This is what I can do for you. If you haven't done it before, it's rich. Now, what you need to know is not every Matterport tour is 3D 360 with virtual reality. You have to have, it's not a big deal. He just needs to kind of check a box. when he prepares your Matterport tour. So make sure that the guy who's doing your Matterport tours is going to be able to do that. What an opening on the phone. Hi. Yeah, I just need to know, have you ever seen one? This is a new way to start the phone conversation. And then here's the classic question, my absolute favorite question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your house? 1 being it is in deplorable condition. You know, this place is a tear down, bring in the bulldozers. And 10 meaning it is in a highly desirable A+ location, that it is got amazing curb appeal from the street. The landscaping is fantastic. The house is freshly painted. The gardens are gorgeous, or outdoor space. So in this townhouse on Beacon Hill, it's all really well cared for from the curb. When I walk in, it's all painted in today's neutral colors. It's got state-of-the-art kitchens and baths. It looks like it's staged for a photo shoot by Architectural Digest. How do you rate your house? This question is so critical, not because of necessarily how they answer. This is where I just really miss my audience. This is where I'd say, how would you rate your house? And everyone says 6, 8, 7. 7 is the most common answer, because everyone thinks they're just that much above average. It's just common. Yeah, we're all hardwired to think we're better than average. I think 85% of people think they're better than average. I love that stat. Think about it for a second. So with that, the big, beautiful thing about this question is the follow-up question. The follow-up question is, what would it take to make it a 10? And now your seller is on the phone. You have not seen the house yet, and they are going to tell you everything that is wrong with their house. Well, it is kind of a busy street, and the kitchen is kind of old, and I know my dining room's still bright red. I haven't done the kitchen since we moved in 1987. They're just going to go through and tell you everything about their house. Now you're not telling them. They are. And all of these questions throughout this entire thing are to get them in a place to price right and to understand your value. That is why we're here. And by the way, and Bianca asked me, I'm so pleased I remember this. Would ever put your email address in the chat? We have, if you're with Leading Edge, you don't need to do it. We know how to find you. But we don't have everyone's email address. So if you would like a copy of all these questions, so Laura, you don't have to take all these notes, but you might want, the nuance around them. We'll send everybody the questions today, so everybody can have them. And by the way, they're going to be up on Moxie. They're part of our listing collateral. But you will want these questions, and we'll send them off to you. Okay, what would it take to make it a 10? Have you been following the market? You need to dive deep on this question, because they are thinking my house is worth X because the house around the corner, or the 1-2 blocks over, or I saw this condo sell for in my building. You need to understand what they're thinking, right? Have you been following the market? Tell me about it. What do you know? Because either they're going to quickly realize they don't know much, or maybe they're so good they're already spot on and know what their house is worth. We just don't know yet, but we're going to figure that out. Why? 2 things. Why are you moving? And why did you call me? 2 key things you need to know. First of all, do you have someone to thank? Why are you moving? Hey, I heard the market's great, and if I can get $725,000, I'm gone, which is good for you to know if you can't get a dime over 650. And they said, but I'm not going unless I can get the money. I'm going to hang here. You need to know their motivation. My wife is expecting twins. We just got relocated. Whatever those reasons are, you might need to remind them of those reasons later when they're not cooperating. But you need to remember what that is. Write that down, because that's what you're going to need. And then, why me? Who should you thank for the referral? What have you heard? Find out why they called you, because whatever it is, that's probably important. Next, are you looking to sell your home virtually or with extreme limited contact? These are new questions. We can't make any assumptions. Some people are scared to death of this virus, not for themselves, but for their loved ones that they're caring for. You absolutely need to ask these questions on the phone. Or, are you comfortable with in-person showings? We should know that right up front, right on the phone. By the way, no one else is asking these questions. These are good things for you to know, especially when no one else is thinking this way at this stage. You're differentiating yourself. You're standing out. Please share any concerns you have during the pandemic as it relates to your move. Who knows what could come spilling out? Super important to get this information on the phone. All right. We all know that you're not required to give anyone an agency form until your first face-to-face meeting. By the way, face-to-face meetings are on Zoom, right? We're face-to-face right now. But even if this is only a phone call, and by the way, if you can make this a Zoom call, even better. I think anytime you can see people's eyes, you can read their reactions. They might call you and say, hey, can we set up a Zoom? Go over this information with them. It will be much more powerful. But if you're on the phone, you still need to give them their Miranda. You have to read them their Miranda rights, which means don't tell me anything you wouldn't want me to know if you don't hire me. Always do that. Listen, you haven't hired me yet. I'm thrilled to help you. And I'm just going to ask you a lot of questions so I can be ready to really present the best custom way for you to sell your house. But please don't answer anything if you're not sure, if you're not comfortable with me knowing it in case you don't hire me. No, fair enough. Next, where are you going? Is it local? Is it somewhere? Do you have an agent where you're going? Can I get you an agent? This is where you pick up the referral early on in the process, on the phone. Our relocation company can help you absolutely anywhere in the world. Call Ann Anderson. She's got it for you. When do you want to be there? What's their timing? I don't know whether anyone has to be anywhere for school anymore. There's going to be other reasons people need to go. But there are people who are taking jobs and don't want to be leaving the family behind. Let's find out what's going on, because that is about their urgency. And as we said, urgency is everything. How much do you want to sell for? People are always kind of scaredy cats about how much do you want to sell for, right? They think, well, if in fact, they might say, I don't know what I'm going to get. That's why I called you. I'm telling you, every single one of them has a number in their head. They've discussed it with their neighbors. They've discussed it with their aunt in Des Moines. They have discussed it with somebody, and they've got a number in your head. And if you go back to the second appointment and you don't know what it is, you are setting yourself up for a real problem. My line that I used all the time when pressed would be, listen, I just want you to know, whatever you tell me does not in any way affect the way my response. It does not influence what I'm going to come up with. I just like to know what's in your head so I know how much I'm going to disappoint you. And I let it sit. They were shocked at that. But it sets their little expectations that maybe they were a little high. And how candid I'm being. When you're candid like that, you're much more trustworthy. I'm not like Fast Hands Eddie just trying to sell them. It feels really good in your head when people say things that you're thinking. When they know you. I might be a little high. Isn't that interesting that she's willing to say how much I might disappoint you? Which I always followed up with, but you'll hire me because you're going to see how I'm going to sell your house for the most money, best terms, in the shortest amount of time. That's going to be clear. Set that expectations right from day one. Ask them how they arrived at the price. Because my experience was they always remember what a house was asking, but not for what it really sold for. We're in this crazy seller market now. It might have sold a lot higher, but that is not traditionally the case. Some of you are in Essex County. Essex County is still selling at 94% sale to ask. Are you interviewing other agents? Don't be a scaredy cat. Don't be afraid to ask if they're out there talking to other people. You need to know who your competition is, what incentives they might be offering. You need to understand what's going on. Now, this is not so you can badmouth anyone. We do not do that. But it's really important. I remember I was listening to Tony Williams speak from somewhere in Australia, and he found out, he said, I went to this listing appointment. It was in the bag. This is like one of my good friends. I know I've got it. And when I said, are you interviewing other agents? He said, yes, you're number 7 of 8. And I'm already going to hire number 2. He was shocked. So what did Tony do? He went to battle with questions. He unearthed, what did they say they were going to do for you? How are they going to accomplish that? This is how you win minds and hearts, is by asking questions, not telling. What do you expect from the agent you hire? You know what, for some people, okay, I'm looking at Jason. Jason is kind of a bottom line, analytical. If I was going to go on a listing appointment at Jason's house, he's going to care about the money, how it's going to be done. It's going to be logical. That's how Jason thinks. If I did the same presentation to Stephanie Saunders, who is an extreme extrovert, who needs to love and hug, who is full of energy, I would lose it in a second. Just like I can't do the presentation, I can't switch them. Those things are real. What do you expect? Jason cares about the money. Stephanie might be like, I'm in a mess. I need an organizer. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here. The kids are driving me crazy. I don't even have a minute to take a shower. Like, how am I going to get this house on the market? It might be 2 totally different things. We need to understand what their expectations are and how will you measure success? For Jason, it's going to be bottom line, did I get my money? For Stephanie, it's going to be like, thank you so much for getting my life together, helping me organize, making sure that I moved on time. Like, for some people, it's just like, I got to go and I got to be there by X. Everybody's different. But if we don't ask, we don't know. How long have you lived in the home? Really big clue, guys, that, if someone's been there since 1968, it might look 1968. Every now and then, an older couple will surprise you, but not regularly. Just like some young folks don't even have, today's trends and tastes. So it's going to happen that way. Find out. I love this question. This is almost like a trick question. You start to ask, do you have a second mortgage? Is there home equity on this? And have you refinanced in the last 3 years? I love these questions because no one else is asking them. But the last one is, have you refinanced in 3 years? Why do you need to know that? Why? I just want to make sure you're not subject to a prepayment penalty. I would feel awful if you owed an additional 3 months mortgage payment at closing because we closed before the 36-month period. That's protecting the client. They can feel that right now. Nobody else is protecting them. They've just talked to 7 other people and nobody asked them that question. This is a big deal. These tiny little things make a big difference. This is where the love comes from. Look at Linda's watching out for me. Is the money you say you need more important than getting your home sold and moved by February? Is the $800,000 more important than moving by February? Or in this case, like by the end of September? I need to know. What do you mean? No, I want both. I need to move by the end of September and I want my money. Now, which one is more important? Is it more important to get the money or is it more important to get there on time? Because we all know time and money, right? That higher the price, sometimes the longer it takes to sell. The more reasonable the price, the quicker time. And this is your chance to explain that. But by the way, we don't do a lot of explanation on the phone. There's no opining when you're asking these questions. Do not do the talking. You have to shut up during this process. Just a few responses, just to understand and clarify why you're asking the questions. You're writing down the information. They're loving you more if they're doing the talking. The classic example I have been using for years, and we've all been at the same party, right? Let's just say my friend Todd finds me at the party. He's had a couple of drinks and he just corners me. Have you ever been cornered at a party? You've been cornered and like you can't escape. And the next thing you know, he's telling you about everyone he knows who's had COVID, and he's showing you his vacation photos because now he can't go this year. So he's kind of reminiscing on his last cruise. And now you hear about his family history and his work history and what it's like working at home and homeschooling. You spend all night with cornered by Todd. You go home and you say to your loved one, oh my God, that Todd, all he does is talk all night long. I can't stand it. Like, please, you have to rescue me. Don't let that ever happen again. Meanwhile, Todd goes home and says, I love Linda. She's awesome. Now, he might not know a thing about me, but Todd had a great time talking. Sellers are the exact same way. They have a great time talking. The more they talk, the more they like you. You're listening. You're paying attention. You know them. So keep that in mind. Does anyone in your house smoke? Yes. Why do you ask? Because if I can tell someone smokes, that's going to be a very steep and serious discount on your property when you sell. Leave it at that. Do you have any pets? Same thing. Why do you ask? If I can smell any pets, I just want you to know that will be a steep and serious discount on your price. How much? Well, it depends, right? Because there isn't anyone here who hasn't been in a cat house. And we all know that cat pee doesn't come out of the floors. And the only way to solve it, the absolute only way, is to remove the hardwood floors. All upholstery has to go. Smoke, you get rid of the upholstery, you can paint it out. You can get rid of it. And those are great. On the flip side, for your buyers, those are great houses to buy. My mother used to look for smoky, yucky houses because you could get them so cheap and paint them up and build instant equity. What's your contact information? Super important to know. And what's your communication preference? Would you rather be email, text, or would you want me to call? Find out what's important to them, right? Get all that information down. Now, I've changed these questions up a little bit. This is on the questions. This is, you think there's only 26 questions on the page? No, because I have all these. These questions are all super important to ask. And I've added some from our red flag checklist. So basic things, number of rooms, beds, baths. Do you know the square footage? They might not, but it's interesting to know. The reason you ask, even if they don't know, is you're saying to them, these things are important. Square footage is important, right? Bigger houses usually get more money than smaller houses. It's a basic concept. The number of baths is important. Do you have a garage? Do you know what the lot size is? What is your favorite thing about the property? You have to ask that, and it better damn show up on the description of property, right? If that's their favorite thing, that's what you're selling. What's your least favorite thing? These are things you might never find out. If you've arrived at 8 o'clock at night in the middle of winter and you don't know the Hells Angels have moved in next door, and you're not seeing all the mess in the yard, you don't know. Ask them what things they don't like. They might unearth things you would never find out, which are going to be really critical to the pricing. What rooms in your house were painted within the last 3 years in neutral colors? In other words, they're still in good shape. It's a very pointed question, but it tells you a lot, right? I just painted the whole house in calm, Balboa mist. You're going to be in great shape. Oh, I haven't painted this house since I moved in 16 years ago. Important to know. This is important. Do you have any wallpaper? This is the only time I let you opine and give any information. Why do you ask? I just want you to know that according to the National Stagers Association, wallpaper is the #1 reason houses don't sell. Very important for them to understand and know that. The worst thing that ever happened to me is a client who called, and when I asked that question, they said, Linda, I just put it up. It's been in my closet for 10 years. I was like, oh. All right. When was the exterior of the house last painted? How would you rate your landscaping on a scale of 1 to 10? Now they're rating it. They're judging. You're not judging. They'll be pretty accurate. I haven't really, the bushes aren't trimmed. I haven't mulched in years. It really needs to be weeded. It's a little bit overgrown in the back, whatever it is. Let them tell you. Are you located near or in view of power lines, water towers, radio towers, or environmental sites? Ask them. Is there any audible train or highway noise? Ask them. Again, these are things that you need to put in their brain, because if they're looking at the house 6 blocks away that doesn't hear the highway and they think that's their comp, that's an issue. Let's see. Do you have neighboring property that could adversely impact your sale? I had a seller once paint the house next door and kind of offered to clean up and organize. The guy was thrilled. He did one of those cheapy, just covered up $5,000 college paint the house jobs. It looked 1,000 times better. He was going to lose a lot more than that on that sale. He cooperated with his neighbor. It was a big win-win. Is part of your living space below grade? Because we all know how that affects appraisals. Those things are important to know. They don't think, if they're comparing their split that's below grade to the single family or even the split above grade, those are two different kinds of houses. You've got, it's dark and it's just one little tiny window at the top versus real outdoor access. Those things matter. All right. Tell me about the details of the house. Get down and dirty. You want to know everything. Tell me about the kitchen. What are the countertops? What kind of light fixtures? What's on the floor? What are the appliances like? What's your hardware? In the bathroom, do you have a tile? Do you have a tub surround? What's going on with the vanity? Tell me what color your bathtub is and what color your tiles are. Tell me everything about anything in your house. This is how you know how to do the opinion value. They've just explained every room to you. Spend the time on the phone. You're going to be on the phone for 45 minutes, but if you tell them in the beginning, you're going to take 45 minutes to do all of this interviewing, this motivational interviewing, then they'll never agree to it. But if you just start rolling with the questions, they're going to love it. Do you plan to sell as is, or are you looking for a better return on your investment? Stating the question this way has a lot of impact, because what they want is the highest price, the best return on their investment, but they don't want to do any work. But you need to suggest to them that it's as is or best return on investment when you invest some more. Make sure that you understand. Now, if they are dead set, listen, Linda, I know you make people rip their rugs up, you make them paint. I am not going to do it. I just take that as a challenge. They think they're not going to do it at this point, and I'm not going to push. Some people won't push, but I am that challenger personality, and you just keep working a little bit at a time. I found a painter. Let's just get a quote. Work them. And at the end, they are the happiest clients ever, and they will totally admit that they never would have done it. Not everyone will push, but it was my nature. I had a zest for the game, right? A zest for not leaving a single penny on the table. And when they feel that, they love you. Do they get a sense you're in their corner? That you want every penny like they do? That you want to treat the sale just like it was your own? Are you thinking of selling your home yourself? We need to know if they're going for sale by owner. You should have good stats and data on that, how much less money the average for sale by owner gets in your market. Bill Butler can probably give us all that kind of information. I don't have it handy. You might want to ask, do you watch the game? Are you familiar with the game show, The Price is Right? It was interesting. I was speaking, I don't know, it was in Berlin or Istanbul or something. And I realized when I had this in my slideshow, and this is shown all over the world. They translate this show everywhere. People love to watch The Price is Right everywhere in the globe, practically, in Europe, in Asia, in Brazil. They all knew The Price is Right. I think that's crazy. What you want to say is, if you remember the show, this just speaks to human nature. How did you win at The Price is Right? Do you remember how you won? I'm going to go back and think about it. They may or may not come up with it. But the way you win at The Price is Right is the person who guesses the price, who comes closest to the retail value without going over. That's the key thing, coming closest to retail value without going over. By the way, that's how you win in real estate. You come as close to retail value without going over. That attracts the most attention. That gets you the most offers. Would you like me to send you packing boxes? Yeah, I put the little leading edges on these because I didn't have a real example of any of our boxes. If anyone has packing boxes and could shoot me a photo, I would love it. Put it in a nice background. BizBoxes Inc. BizBoxesInc.com will do customized packing boxes. They send them to the seller, right? With your name on them, with your logo on them, with leading edge on them, with your phone number on them. I get calls very regularly from people all over Melrose going, just a text, Linda, I just was, I was in someone's attic and I saw one of your boxes. They live for like a generation. People move them around, they share them, they're great. But this is the psychological signal that you should be cleaning up, that you need to start packing. A. B, it kind of invokes the law of reciprocity. Oh my goodness, you just sent me packing boxes. What can I do for you? Oh, I'll list with you. I mean, that's the way it works sometimes. All right, I think I just lost. Can you guys hear me? Can I have a thumbs up? Okay, because I just lost the air. I've run out of juice here. So I'm computer oriented. Thank you. Show me your house and sell it to me. Now you're not on the phone anymore. You're going to their house. And I'm going to recommend that you don't, when you first arrive, that you do bring our PowerPoint, that you go through what we do at Leading Edge that is fundamentally different. And then you say, show me your house and sell it to me. Write everything down. We have something called the red flag checklist. I wish more people would use it. It asks some of the questions that we already asked. But what I love about it is, and I took this from a relocation company many moons ago, and it says right at the top, the existence of these things. Is the style of home typical for the area? Is it an undesirable or non-preferred school district? Is it poor curb appeal? Is it located in view of power lines? Location or backs up to a busy street? Subject has a steep driveway, all those kind of things. If you physically fill out this form with, yes, it exists, and does it affect value? Yes, just in front of your client. That's it. And you could say, hey, as a matter of course, we go through the red flag checklist. Just want to do that with you so that we can identify things that would affect value. Ready? Now it's not you complaining about their steep driveway or the power lines. This is something you can say, we just know in real estate, these things affect value. Now you're not the bad guy, right? The system is the bad guy. That's the beauty of using this little piece of paper. All right, now just a couple of quick photos. I think there's 4 photos from our listing presentation. Guys, we got Scarlett Johansson. A lot of you've already seen this a million times, but Mr. and Mrs. Seller, today selling your house is like internet dating. It's time to put your makeup on. Here's Miley Cyrus. She's absolutely gorgeous. But now we've got company coming and you're going to dress up for your party. Who's going to get more dates on Match.com? I like this one because look what happens if we look at this guy as a property. Let's declutter him. Let's paint him and let's stage him. There we go. He's decluttered, little paint in the top, and we've staged him. What a difference. Everyone at Leading Edge, I hope you're all using our consumer protection plan. The one question that every agent has to be able to answer. And by the way, I would propose you don't just answer these questions, that you say to every seller, anyone comes in your door, you're going to ask them this: how do they protect you? And how do they help you avoid problems in the transaction? Because we're pre-resolving problems and we are protecting you. And every agent should be able to answer that. First of all, if you're at Leading Edge, I'm going to give you this whole bunch of things here where we're pre-resolving by asking these questions and setting up expectations. But this Consumer protection plan is everything. Our exclusive protection plan protects your interests like no other real estate company. When a seller signs an offer to purchase contract in Massachusetts, it's binding on the seller, but not on the buyer. Leading Edge does more to protect you. Let me explain. And by the way, we did just release a New Hampshire version for a one-step process. Yesterday, my friend Grace has it, and we'll be putting it everywhere. Our Leading Edge consumer protection plan ensures that the seller will have the opportunity to have all documents reviewed by an attorney prior to signing the purchase and sale contract or prior to being bound to the offer. Let's just remind you, the offer in Massachusetts is totally binding. If you never go to purchase and sale, you can force a sale. I've seen it happen. Our attorneys have done it to people. It's ugly. You don't want to get caught in it. It's why every single listing at Leading Edge should have a consumer protection plan. So everyone has the opportunity to have attorney review. That's why it says in the bottom, this is a binding agreement. Please seek advice of counsel of an attorney. That's why it says that. All parties agree to work in good faith toward a mutually agreeable purchase and sale. And buyers must disclose that their purchase is contingent upon the sale of any real property or any other personal assets, right? Do you have something to sell? Our rider prevents any last-minute surprises that could require a seller to return a deposit due to the buyer's inability to sell any property or assets. There is nothing worse as a listing agent than 4 days before closing, a week before closing, your people have unstaged, they're packed up, buyers didn't get financing, they can't go forward, we're putting it back on the market. That is devastating. It does not happen with this. Why? Because buyers won't lie to you. They won't produce a bad pre-approval that says they don't have to sell because their deposit's at risk. It says, hey, if you are denied financing because you have assets that need to be sold, okay, if it's your boat or your stock portfolio or a house, if that's the case, and you're denied financing, we're keeping the deposit. That flushes them right out. I cannot tell you, there almost isn't a week that goes by when there isn't an agent in our company who's like, damn glad I had the protection plan. We're heroes. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, getting your house ready is just like detailing your car. I spent $1,000 to detail the car. Which one's going to sell for thousands of dollars more? I love some of these photos are the classic before and afters. All right, here we go. This is from Danny Fleming. She's an MIT professor who insisted on not staging, not doing anything she wanted, and pricing it his way, because after all, he's an MIT professor and he knows everything, right? Of course. Well, she said, I loved her answer. She didn't press him to do everything. She just said, fine. We'll do it your way. But if it doesn't work, then we'll do it my way. And I know you'll be shocked to find in the first 30 days, they didn't even have a showing. And then they did this and they sold it for over asking. I won't get into the details, right? Prayer is not the best method to market a house. This is not how you do it. I love the principles. Most agents, it's still true today. They follow the 3 Ps. They pray, they put it in MLS, and they put a sign in the yard. That's kind of what they're doing. And good agents are doing so much more to build value. But I love this principle of sacrifice. I learned it from Laurie Moore, who does the Luxury Institute. Great stuff. So anyway, she looks at problem houses. How can we lean in when we are selling property with an issue and embrace the problem and sell it to the person who wants it instead of trying to ignore that it exists? Ready? Steep driveway equals massive savings for you. Beautifully upgraded with extraordinary view. Priced $50,000 less than houses with less driveway and less view. Or, I liked this one. All those stairs, we know that's a problem. Here's a headline. Relative repellent keeps relatives away. Hey, they laughed. And for some people, that might just work. That might be just what they want to hear. Here we go. No yard maintenance. You will give very high marks to everything about this home as long as you can accept its lack of yard or backyard removed for your convenience. This is fun. You can have fun. I encourage fun. $650,000 6-car garage. Attached house is free. We all know staging presents a different property online. This was a listing. This is a listing photograph one of our agents had, and that was the MLS photo. It didn't sell. And of course, this was our photo. And then it sold right away. If your house is tired, refresh or expect buyers to want a discount. Ready? That's a house. This is what we did to it. Here's the house. This is what we did to it. Here's the house. We can help you. You can build equity. This is what happens when you invest in your house. You get a much better return. By the way, those are all the same cabinets that we painted. Same here. Painted cabinets, paint epoxy on the tile, new toilet, new mirror, take down the crappy curtains, paint the woodwork. Voila. We even painted the floor. There's a process you can use that kind of looks like granite. Looks pretty good. And it was that kind of that pink and brown tile. Here's the basement. Let's paint the paneling and stage it. There's a crappy, smelly bathroom. I can't tell you how bad that was. That's what we did. Here's a house that we had. And that's what happened when we cleaned it up. And this is what happened when we painted. Here we go, and all staged up. Here's a kitchen. Here's what we did. The miracle of IKEA. The entire, all the cabinets, the countertops, all of the appliances and lighting came in at less than $20,000. That does not include the construction of the cabinets, the plumbing, the electric, or the floors. But you can really transform a space. And IKEA has some great stuff. There's another IKEA kitchen, same thing. Home Depot. Home Depot tile, Carrera tile from Home Depot. I think we need to remember how good brick looks when it's painted. This is Ramsey did a flip, and that's what it looked like when it was all staged and ready to go. This is a Beacon Hill building right along the Charles. He did great on this one. And the agent who listed it before he bought it did terrible by his seller because Ramsey didn't spend hardly anything but paint on this. And a little bit of appliances. Okay, why does Pierce Brosnan look so much better 35 years later? Because he's trendy, right? We have to remember that we're not wearing sideburns and mustaches and open shirts with chains anymore. That's what happened. And by the way, I want you to know that a generation is 20 years old. So when things are 20 years old, it's a whole generation old. But I find that 10 years old can look dated in real estate. 10 years ago was 2010. 10 years ago, people were putting in oak cabinets and doing brown countertops. And it was all the rage. Just not what you would do today. 10 years is old in real estate. My favorite line I've ever come up with in terms of this practice is staging is not a decorating decision. It is a business decision. All right, I'm gonna make sure, I think you can hear. This is a thing from Candid Camera. I'd like to show you because I'm gonna come back to our basketball theme as we close. Can you hear it? You can't hear? No? Well, I understand it's not, you can't hear that. Could you hear what he was saying? Ah. Oh, we should have done that in the beginning. All right, we get it now. All right. My friend Grace is on it. Grace? It won't advance. No. What would we do without Grace?
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with a white shirt, the lady with a trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before. Now, here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door, everybody's changed positions. Now we'll see if we can use group pressure for some good. Now, in a moment, on Charlie's signal, everybody turns forward. Notice they take off their hats. And now, do you think we could reverse the procedure? Watch.
So this is what we're all like. We can't help it. We follow. We're built with mirror neurons when we're babies. We do what other people are doing. And I would ask you, please, please think about doing something fundamentally different. Please be willing to be Rick Barry. Here we go.
The playoff experience Rick Barry has. He realized Kazzy had his hand was reaching in there and just went up for the shot and created the foul. And he doesn't miss many foul shots.
In the regular season, Rick Barry averaged 21.8 points a game. Here in the playoffs against Detroit and now Los Angeles, he is averaging 30.6. He is hitting 47% from the field, an increase over his regular season 44%, and you already know he's a magnificent free throw shooter.
Are you willing to be Rick Barry? Are you willing to consider that first phone call and that process in your system differently by asking those questions? What I find is that so many of you will take the questions and ask 5 or 6 of them. You're missing out on the whole experience of changing their thinking. You might be making a dent, but you can't be as influential. You can't have the impact. You can't drive their decision making unless you follow the whole thing. And while it might feel super uncomfortable to spend 45 minutes on the phone before you go over there, you've probably already won the listing then. That's when you're just unlike anyone else. So with that, I thank you for participating today. So nice to have some new people that we don't know joining us. I'm going to wish you all fantastic success and prospering. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.